Hello, this is Ray Mota from ACG, and welcome to another edition of the Hot Seat. Joining me today is Andy Huckridge from Gigamon. Andy, thanks for joining the Hot Seat.
Hi, Ray.
And I think this is your first time, right?
It is indeed.
Well, welcome. Now, one of the things that I'm actually excited about this Hot Seat, because you're not going to get into some product specific. You're going to talk about strategy, market impact, and vision. As we look forward with the carriers, right, one of the things that they always tell me is that they have to make really tough decisions because their architecture isn't geared to be innovative, right? So they have to figure out how to de-risk investments. So anytime they launch a new service, I mean, what are you doing, or what do you think the key is for them to figure out how to de-risk these services?
Sure. So we're working with a number of carriers. Actually, we've just done pretty much a worldwide roadshow to talk about 3 new technologies: IP voice, voice over IMS, voice over Wi-Fi, voice over LTE, large speed transport pipes with 100 gig transport pipes, and also some of the new 40 gig BiDi transports and optics, as well as carrier network virtualization, which is made up of SDN and NFV. So a lot of these technologies are not really baked at the moment, and a lot of them are just only past the testing phase. So we are seeing some early deployments of these technologies, but from our perspective, what we're helping carriers to understand is that unless you have some form of monitoring infrastructure, such as a visibility fabric in place, then it's going to be very hard to understand what's gone wrong or where the issues are on the network. Essentially, how to debug them and how to debug them, in a quick way.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, I mean, when we look at present mode of operation, what do you think is the existing impact on the architecture today with that?
Sure. So again, a lot of these new technologies don't necessarily have the testing built in. The visibility, the monitoring built in. So in terms of the architecture, voice services, for example, voice services suffer from delay, latency, jitter, drop packets, malformed packets, packet fragmentation, and things like that. And voice services have to be monitored across the entire transmission path because the network elements can change or can transcode or add extra delay. You can have issues with the signaling being out of sync with the media. So the architecture for that, for monitoring, needs to flow across the entire network to be able to find these issues where they are on the network.
Makes sense there. Now, I mean, you've mentioned visibility twice already. I mean, that seems like it's an important part as carriers look to transition to be more agile, more nimble. One of the biggest concerns is visibility. I mean, what are your thoughts on visibility on the network exactly? Right.
So I think what we're beginning to see is that the most troubling issue is that a lot of these new technologies, specifically SDN and NFV, software-defined networking and network functions virtualization, actually remove the visibility of the network.
Interesting.
I mean, how do you see inside of a virtual container, a virtual network function? How do you know that the routing layer is actually moving the right packets across the right network segments? How do you make sure that that's happening? So because a lot of the traffic doesn't actually leave the servers at this point, then operators have a lot of difficulty in getting the visibility into the servers, into that traffic. And the message that Gigamon has is that without that visibility, it's going to be really hard to not only deploy but to de-risk these services, and also to find out where the problems are.
Now, as you talk about the de-risking, it seems like that discussion from a high level, right? I mean, what do you see are the benefits associated by having that capability?
So I think all of this boils down to greater agility for the operator. It allows the operator to deploy services faster, to take more risks, to be more innovative, because they then have the tools that they need to be able to find out where these issues are, to deploy with confidence, to de-risk. Let's take an example of this. So if you have a number of new services or real-time traffic types on a 100 gig pipe, for example, then how do those traffic types interact with other different or over-the-top traffic on that same pipe? How does the operator know what the issues are with transporting RTP in terms of priority and things like this? So what it allows the operator to do is to be able to come up with new services quicker, to be able to modify those services, to de-risk, and then also to be able to avoid issues with churn and things like that. To reduce the customer support calls because they've got the understanding, the knowledge of where the problems are on the network, and something to actually to refer back to have the visibility to the problem.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like in a lot of the churn, because service providers, they spend so much time and money to acquire new customers, churn becomes the biggest priority. So definitely a big issue. Now, in closing, I mean, you talked about some of the de-risking and architecture and visibility, which are very important thing. Is this something that's real? Do you have stuff going on? I mean, how far away are we from that?
Sure. So we recently did a worldwide customer tour to educate service providers worldwide about the importance of monitoring and the issues associated with these new technologies and how they interact together. But we are certainly beginning to see some very large-scale deployments of VoLTE, both in Asia, in the US, not so much in Europe yet, but certainly beginning. We are seeing large-scale trials of SDN and NFV. So it's certainly real. I mean, if you'd have asked a year ago, I would have said, not so much. But
just PowerPoints, right?
It's happening now, for sure.
Good,
yes.
Good. Well, you're officially off the hot seat.
Thank you very much.
With Andy, this is Ray Mota. Thanks for joining this version of the hot seat.